I'm Jason Donovan with the Wealth Titans, and today we are going to be talking about how to recognize stock market patterns. We'll start off by discussing whether or not patterns actually exist, and then we'll look at where to look for them and how to ensure that the pattern we're looking at is actually real. So, do patterns actually exist? And if they do, are we equipped to recognize them? Now, there are hundreds of day trading courses out there that would answer yes to both of these questions. On the flip side, there are hundreds of academics out there who would answer no to both these questions on the grounds that stock prices are in fact completely random. The reality falls squarely in the center of these two camps. Patterns do exist, but we aren't equipped to handle them. But before we tackle how exactly we can most effectively recognize real patterns, let's take a look at an example that illustrates where patterns actually are, because too often investors are simply looking for patterns in the wrong place. We know patterns exist and we want to find them, so we stare intensely at charts like these for a pattern to exploit. And the longer we stare, the more likely we are to find a pattern, regardless of whether or not one actually exists. And the problem is too often we are looking at the wrong chart, specifically the wrong time frame. We do this by looking at 1 month, 6 month, and 2-year charts, when we should be looking at the bigger picture, the 5-year, 7-year, 10-year chart. If you are investing for next week, it might make sense to look at a 1-month chart. But if you are investing for the long run, you shouldn't care what the price is doing month to month. And our investment time horizon needs to be reflected in our investment decisions. So this brings us to our second question. Can we actually recognize patterns? The answer is yes, but the patterns we see don't always necessarily exist. You see, as a species, our brains are actually wired to abhor randomness and seek patterns. And to illustrate this conundrum as it relates to successfully identifying patterns in the stock market, the book Your Money and Your Brain cited a study that was conducted where the human brain's capacity to identify real patterns was put to the test. This experiment was conducted with humans, rats, and pigeons. And in the experiment, there was a pair of flashing lights, one red and one green, which were each flashed 20 times for the human and rodent subjects. The exact sequence of the flashes, however, were randomized. But the green light flashed 80% of the time, while the red light only flashed 20. Naturally, the easiest way to predict the most flashes would be to guess green every single time. While the pigeons and rats tended to follow the strategy and guess right close to 80% of the time, the human subjects got caught up trying to predict where the next red flash would be, which left them with a prediction rate of only 68%. And even after being informed that the lights flashed at random, the human subjects continued to try to outsmart the odds. And their performance tended to get worse, not better, over time. So where does that leave us, and how do we recognize stock market patterns? First, we can conclude that patterns do exist, but as investors, we must keep our investment time horizon in context and look at prices over the span of multiple years to get a clear picture of what is actually going on. Second, we must be conscious of our propensity to see things that aren't actually occurring. The longer we spend with data, in this case charts, the more likely we are to see patterns that aren't actually there. And this is why I always recommend using more than one chart and more than one metric to make an investment decision. Finally, a good rule of thumb is to limit your analysis of charts to 90 seconds or less. If you can't see a clear pattern in 90 seconds or less, there probably isn't one to see. And any longer than 90 seconds and your brain's wiring will actually begin to work against you. So if you think you see a pattern but you're not quite sure, it's highly recommended that you use supplemental analysis and other data to confirm what you see in the chart. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this informative and actionable. If you have any questions, please let us know in the comment section below. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our other videos. To your investment success.